it's all about ideas and working with creatives from the start. So I got engaged with the City Commission on the Arts through the invitation of Francisco Loyola, and was introduced to a number of people working in various sectors that wanted to get a handle on what is happening here in the Kenosha art scene. So we developed this project that was kind of multi-pronged approach that we call Kenosha Rising. So let me just advance here. Okay, this is a Prezi, and I guess it's a little touchy. All right, you're going to see my presentation in reverse here. Okay, here we go. All right, so we're back to the front. So Kenosha Rising is also a collaboration of other organizations besides the City Commission on the Arts. That's really, the City Commission on the Arts is kind of that, the main sponsor, but we had a lot of support through my organization, the UW Extension, also Expose Kenosha, which is an independent arts organization, and the Kenosha Community Foundation. So what we did is basically take the resources from those organizations and launch a survey. Did any of you participate in an online survey for Kenosha Rising? Great, thank you so much. So we took that information and compiled it and learned quite a bit about the community at large here, any working artist in Kenosha County that's either living here or working here. So these are some of the survey results, and I'm just going to kind of walk through those in the next 15 minutes. So we had 142 people participate, and of those, about 55% were representing the visual arts and crafts sector. The next highest concentration was musicians at 27%, design and communications, photography. We had a lot of artists that classified their work as other, and you can see on that poster, this slide is actually shown, so you can see what other creative enterprises were reflected, such as publishers, radios, arts education, and many others. So we have quite an array. I think everyone is surprised at how many different types of artists are working here in the community. Also theater, literature, media and film, and cultural and heritage. So a nice diverse spread of people working that took the survey. But that actually doesn't reflect what some of the external data says about our community, and so this isn't on your slide. You're kind of getting the behind the scenes look at some other things that I didn't include on the public outreach portion, but the actual numbers of firms or businesses working here in Kenosha, the highest distribution is actually in musical groups and artists. Far and away, really significant increases between 2003 and 2011. Fortunately, the data that I have, a lot of it is only good until 2011, so we're working on some other alternative sites that we can use later. But so anyways, that's just to contrast that actually the reality of it is that musical groups and artists are probably the most prominent creative enterprise that we see here in Kenosha. So we also asked in the survey, why are people here? We really wanted to hear some of the good stories and assets that Kenosha presents to artists. So 50% of those that took the survey said that it was personal networks. So either they were born here or they live here now. They work here and their children go to school here. A lot of stories of what brought people to Kenosha or why they're here, many that have kind of moved around and then resettled here because of personal networks. After that, affordable cost of living. We see that 27% of all those who took the survey cite that we have a very affordable cost of living. The housing costs are much lower than many of the metro areas to our north and south, and certainly to the coast. Some people said that they go out to the coast, sell their wares or their pursue their artistic sort of endeavors, but then come and live back here in Kenosha just because it is so affordable. Also, the existing arts community, through the survey data, a lot of people felt that Kenosha was a place that they could come and make a difference in, that they could actually find their way in, and it's not so, I don't know, difficult to penetrate of sorts. So they just felt that the existing arts community is really rich and a place that can be accessed. And then finally, the available amenities. Many people credit the lakefront, the universities here as reasons to keep their businesses here. So, and interestingly enough, 1 in 5 respondents said all of the above. So there's a lot of good things happening that I think we can do more of to attract even more activity. Okay, this is also not on your sheet, but just a explanation of where people are working and the venues and facilities that they're using for exhibition, sale, and creation of work. Quite an array of different venues, which is interesting for us, as you know, people ask, well, where can I go? There's not enough spaces here in Kenosha. Well, a lot of people are tapping into a lot of different places. Far and away, art galleries was the most common. Colleges and universities, on down to outdoor venues, art museums, but we have a lot of people working in a lot of different areas, so very interesting to see that. We did quite a bit of research before we launched the survey, and what I saw a lot was a discussion around gatekeepers in communities, and that thriving arts communities have these sorts of figures that act as gatekeepers. They can be editors, they can be curators, they can be gallery owners, they can be nightlife proprietors, but basically they work to increase the value of art by kind of limiting who gets access to the public. So far and away, a lot of commentary on this subject where people felt that this was really an area that we could develop further, that we can use gatekeepers here, but that the level of expertise available locally may be an area for improvement. So finding out who those gatekeepers are and building capacity there, I think, is another big opportunity for us. 63% of the artists that replied to the survey felt somewhat supported by the community, by the Kenosha community at large. So another area that we can work on. 93% say it's important to their art production to have a community of like-minded, supportive cultural producers. So that's really why we're here tonight, is just reaffirm and reestablish who is working in this community and, you know, how we can create networks and collaborations. Okay, and then back on your sheet here, I'm going to get into some of the more data-rich areas that I did on my own to learn more about the arts community. So this wasn't from the survey results so much as it was from a database of businesses called the National Establishment Time Series data. It's NETS, and they look at economic activity at the firm level, at the business level, over time. So we saw, and this is why Kenosha is rising, because we can actually say the data suggests very strongly that we are seeing increases in the number of business establishments, increases in the number of jobs, and increases in sales. So this is pretty robust data. We looked at it for just a few NAICS codes, just a few of the entrepreneurs that are actually artists, not the nonprofit organizations. We didn't want to inflate the numbers. We just wanted to look at the entrepreneurs. So we looked at the independent artists, writers, and performers, musical groups and artists, graphic design, and interior design. So limiting that data to really just those that we felt were the entrepreneurs and that we could conservatively say these numbers are accurate. And then we extrapolated from those numbers what is the economic impact to the community, because all the business interests want to hear, well, that's great, you guys are active, you're growing, but let's see how your sector stacks up with the rest of us. Well, from the 2011 data, we know that there were 552 jobs. That's the indirect impacts, the induced impacts, and the direct impacts of the Dun & Bradstreet information. So that's looking at those jobs that are created business to business, and also those jobs that are created when artists spend their money out in the community. So it's a bigger number than those direct numbers that you see from my earlier slide. Labor income, about 9.4 million, so people are, you know, obviously getting paid for their work, and that contributes 9.4 million to the local economy. Total income, 27.4 million. Industry sales, about 59 million. And state and local government revenues, about 1.2 million. So again, these are very conservative numbers. We intentionally limited it to a very small number of entrepreneurs that we knew for sure they were working here, they're creating, and you know, this isn't an extrapolated number of other sorts of businesses. These were the entrepreneurs themselves. So, as you look on that poster, the bottom section is really looking at next steps and what were some of the insights and how can we use this information. So we have a lot of work ahead of us, and that's why you're here tonight. So in the last hour of our presentation of our program, we're going to get you talking a little bit about the data that we've presented, and we're going to go from there. So now I'm just going to introduce a colleague who we're going to throw a lot at you tonight. So we're about halfway through our program, so just bear with us. But now I'm going to invite my colleague Christopher Nauman up here, who's going to talk about what he's seeing locally, because those numbers, these trends are very evident through the numbers, but what are we seeing locally? And as a relative newcomer to the community, I think he's got some valuable perspective. So we're going to turn it over to Christopher Nauman.
Thank you, Amy. Wow, great to be here tonight. My name is Christopher Nauman. I'm the Executive Director for Downtown Kenosha Incorporated. It is your community's Main Street program. Wanted to put that reference in there because we heard that word or those words a little earlier. I am a relative newcomer to this area. I've been here now not quite a year, but I come from a Main Street background, a design background, and a background that really appreciates the arts, being active in art advocacy at the state program with Arts Wisconsin. And to be very honest, when Amy asked me to come up here, you know, first of all, she only gave me 5 minutes, so that's not going to last very long. But she did ask me to comment on kind of the local perspective and how these pieces start tying to kind of start getting people to think about things. So how are arts impacting our local economy in the downtown, and where is it very tangible and visible? Well, first of all, I mean, Francisco Loyola, can you raise your hand just because you need some gratuitous thank yous? I really want to show my appreciation because he's making a lot of these things happen. So for instance, this summer we had the Art Bike Project around Independence Day, and that's an example of arts integrating into the culture. You've got these fantastic venues like Fusion, where we actually serve the creative community here by offering these performances and these live music events and spoken word. That's another example of the impact of the creatives in the culture and creating a more vibrant place to interact with each other. On the business side, some very interesting examples. You look at two small businesses that are very close proximity. Modern Apothecary, about a block just to the north here, and then Mike's Chicken and Donuts, which is down on 56. Now, both those brands I hope you're familiar with, and if you're not, you should be familiar with them, because one could say one's just a pharmacy and one could say one's just a beer bar, but the arts and the application of creatives in those two businesses in terms of their branding, how they're built out, their expression of who they are and how they attach to the community, they both really elevate those businesses and give you a value and a brand and experience that's unique. And it's something that puts us apart as a community from other communities. And it gives us definition and characteristics that are unique. And that's something that we take pride in, and that builds value, and that builds these numbers. And I love that return on community number. I want to learn how I measure that. So if you could give me some statistics to help go into that number, I'm going to use that like crazy because I'm kind of sick of hearing, what's my return on investment on art? And you can throw numbers at people all day, but it doesn't completely click all the time. So thank you, Amy, because what we're doing here is ROC tonight. And all of you in this room, I recognize many of you, and you're very active in this community. You're doing wonderful things. You're contributing to making this city and this downtown better. And I just want to thank you all for doing that. And we're going to see more examples of things coming up in the future with the creative space that's being developed on 6th Avenue, with more studies and applications going on with facade improvements and other wonderful kind of spontaneous events going on. So thank you for your support, and let's keep this momentum moving.
Okay, so now we're kind of at the halfway point. We just wanted to give a little taste of actual something artistic here at hearing from our poet laureate here in Kenosha, Brett Miller. So we're going to play a video and then tell you about our visioning exercise that's going to take us into the next portion of our session here. Just kidding, that wasn't it. I don't have any sound. Is it muted?
We've come together.
Do you want to say anything, Francisco?
They give us a cohesive sense of shared meaning. A community with no arts and no beauty feels desolate.
Brian always tried to be ahead of the time.
Hello everyone, my name is Brian Mitchell. I'm a local musician as well as Kenosha's new poet laureate. We've come together in this fantastic new arts venue to assess the state of the arts in Kenosha County and to discuss ways to make the arts lucrative for local artists as well as for the county as a whole. The arts are more than entertainment. The arts provide a community with a sense of communal identity and pride. They comfort us and challenge us. They confer meaning and grace. They give us a cohesive sense of shared meaning. A community with no arts and no beauty feels desolate. A community that features and invests in the arts reaps the fruits of those investments, because it becomes a place where people want to be, where they want to spend their money, where they want to spend their time. That's what we want for Kenosha, and it's what we're going to accomplish. So let's get to work.
All right, so now, that was Brett Mitchell, thank you. Now we're moving into a little bit different situation where we're gonna have everyone work. I needed that, wake us up. All right, here we go. So we're gonna start our visioning session. So we're gonna have everyone in groups of 5. Yes, all right, so groups of 5, you're kind of already grouped that way, but if you want to turn maybe behind you and just identify who's that group of 5. Okay. A group of 3 would be fine. If there's not 5, we'll make it work, but no more than 5.
If you look at the chairs are supposed to be in groups of 5. So just move around and you will have your group of 5.
Yes, you can just set that aside. Sure. Okay, are you going to have a timer? Okay, so I need to pull up my president again.
Lou's going to be leaving soon.
Do you have the, nope. Here, I'll just take it, thanks.
We need a note taken. Nobody volunteers. Going to appoint someone.
Okay, so we assume everybody's kind of worked that out, no more than 5 in a group, just so the exercise kind of works. Does that work? Okay. So Christopher, I'm going to have you as our little Okay, so we're gonna model how this next hour or so is gonna go, and we're just gonna have some fun and get you talking, okay? Let's do it. So we're gonna start out with something pretty straightforward and simple, get you warmed up a little bit. So I'm gonna model it with our buddy Christopher here. We're gonna give him 1 minute to answer a question, and then he's gonna pass the mic. So that's what the general kind of feel of the exercise is going to be. You have 1 minute to respond to the question, and then you pass your turn to the person to your left or whatever. They get a minute, on and on. So everybody gets a minute. So we're just going to give him a little test and see how Christopher does. So Christopher, 1 minute. Why are you here tonight?
I'm here tonight because I love the arts. I'm here tonight because I want to change the world. And I'm here tonight because I really want to see the arts thrive as our foundational base of downtown. Now, again, I could probably fill a lot more than just 1 minute, but this is the things that we do. This is what our community does. This is what the leaders in this room do, is we're out there teaching how to make the world better. And the arts are the thing that does that. It makes good to great. And that's what I love about the arts, and that's why I'm here.
Okay, excellent. That was 29 seconds. And we'll hear just one more thing from Christopher. Okay, so you'll all get a chance to answer that question in 1 minute. And then the next question is going to be, what excites you about the work ahead? 1 minute, Christopher.
The work ahead means I'm employed. That's a good start. The challenge ahead means that our community has a lot of things to look forward to. And the work ahead is a challenge, but it's also fun. I mean, half the reason we're going to be out in the freezing cold over the next 3 days putting up Christmas lights downtown with volunteers is because it gives you a sense of pride. It makes you feel like you're giving something back to the community. And when we have our lighting ceremony on Friday next week, we're going to be able to see joyous faces of visitors coming and exploring the downtown, enjoying the sense of place, and really appreciating the efforts we're making. So if it's in the arts or in street improvements or Main Street efforts, everything we do brings you a little joy.
Excellent, 38 seconds. So now it's all your turn. So 1 minute actually is a lot of time. Francisco?
I think that Christopher was cheating for some reason. He just took 10 minutes, so someone is not saving the
No, I think it's legit. We're watching the time here, Francisco. This is not, just freewheeling. So, all right, here we go. Now everyone gets a chance. So within 1 minute, we're going to tell you when to switch, okay? So we're going to start maybe one person. Raise your hand if you're going to be the starter in your group. Okay, yep. So if you're going to start out your group, raise your hand just so we're clear. Is everybody good? Okay. We got it? We got it? Does everybody have a note keeper, a note taker? Same person. You're, okay, note taking. Okay. Okay, so we're going to warm you up with this question. You got 1 minute, and then we're going to switch to the person on your right. How about, okay? So, why are you here tonight? Ready, go.
Okay, why am I here tonight? I do public speaking.
It's going to be 5 minutes, yep.
Thanks very much. Chet's been great. We started doing public speaking downstairs. I was invited last round. Not working there. I need someone to help me do a public chair. Okay, sure. Time. When? Oh, in an hour. All right, got it. Come down.
Switch. Next person. Go. We 1 minute. Go. Switch. Go to the next person. Next person. Go.
Did you see the pictures I tagged you in? Did you see the pictures I tagged you in? Okay, good.
Next person. Next person. Go. Okay, next person. Next person. Last one. Go. Then you get 30 seconds. You have 6? Okay, I'll do one more. Okay, you can split it. Do you have all the questions out there? Okay, time is up. Sorry, table of 6.
Okay, and there was just a question about the note keeper. We just want you to capture anything that's really resonating with you or interesting. The last 4 questions is where really the rubber is going to hit the road. So we're warming you up now. The notes aren't as important, but just keep it going and jump to our next question.
Okay. Next question, you guys. 1 minute. What excites you about the work ahead? Go. Are you liking the Prezi? Do you like? Yeah. Every time I do it, I always like, I don't know, maybe I'm just like stuck in that PowerPoint thing where I'm like, that one, like the pictures never look the same. I don't know what it is, but I like the way it flips around.